This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold'em. So lay your cards down, 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 yeah. Park your Lexus. Throw your keys up. Stick around, round, 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 round. I can't ever get that last note correct. Or can never get that last note correct. It's okay. One day, I'll get that note correct. Or get that note correct one day. Hello, everybody. Hello, my darlings. I am wondering. Let me try this. It's not the greatest in the world, but it's something. It's something. Nah, I don't like it. I'm trying to, because I'm trying not to have like the light directly on my face because it gets too hot. But, I mean, oh well, it is what it is. Hi everybody, welcome in. Welcome, welcome. As soon as I can kind of get this light situation figured out, we'll get started. But let me go ahead and put the effects. This ain't Texas. Ain't no hold'em. So lay your cards down, 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 down. Whoa. Put your Lexus. Keys up. Stick around, round, 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 round. I can, nope. See, I'm not even confident in it, in my ability. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Welcome in, my darlings. Hello, my dears. As you can see, this is who we'll be talking about today for a little bit. For just a little bit. So get your popcorn ready. Because we have an outline. I know you're thinking to yourself, what? Galen, what are you talking about, baby? An outline? Yes. Ow! Uh-oh. You can't, dang nabbit. Anyway, we have an outline, okay? We're outlined. I done hit myself in the face. Hi, everyone. So, I probably need to send this to... Hi, Nix. Hello, Nix. Nix, would you mind sending this to the group me? Thank you, darling. If you do. If you don't want to, I get it. Hello, Lala. How is my weekend? It's going good. I can't complain. I can't complain. But I have my phone on sleep mode, focus mode, so I can't see if you shared it. So, thank you, Nix. Thank you. Thank you, love. Thank you, my love. Thank you, darling. I appreciate you greatly. Appreciate you greatly. Thank you, darling. So, y'all, I'm going to give us another couple of minutes just to kind of see who all, kind of get us a good, steady, whatchamacallit. And then we'll go ahead and get into it. But hi, how are you? My name is Galen. If you're new here, hello, Brittany. Hello, my darling. If you're new here, my name is Galen. If you're not, then welcome back. And today, I want to do a little discussion about Billie and Christy's storyline from season 8. I know. I saw a comment and I was very, very inspired by it. I usually do rewrite videos over on my, YT. I don't know if maybe saying like the name of it is going, but over on the video watching app. And I usually do rewrites over there where I talk about Charmed. And I will take certain little elements of it or certain characters or whatever the case may be and do a little rewrite. Now, I also love, in the midst of talking about the show on live, I love talking about that just randomly. So I might randomly throw out there what I would do differently with the story. I saw a comment under a video where it was talking about Billie and Christy. And because I made a video where I was saying that that Christy and Piper were actually kind of going through the same thing, where someone that they loved was either taken away from them to kind of spur them on to fight that fight, right? So for Piper, it was supposed to be the fight to stop the ultimate power. And for Christy, it was to stay within this realm of the plan and not get too much of her humanity back. And that's when we see her like take her arm and shove it in a man's chest. And so I'm sure in different spaces, listen, I'm sure that was quite the scene, okay? And I'm just going to leave it at that because I think you know exactly what I'm trying to say. But that made me start thinking a lot about Billie and Christy. And then there was a comment, I don't remember what it was, but I put it like under the, under that I was going to be talking about it today. So let's go ahead and get into it. Y'all, I'm so proud of myself. I've got 2 pages worth of notes. Are we going to talk about all of it? No. It's just me kind of reminding myself like specifically what I would do and why, so that way I can, you know, kind of like stay within the realm of what we're trying to do here. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start with a little bit of Billie and Christy's background. We're going to start with a little bit of like what they got going on. So Billie is a character introduced in season 8. She is a college student who is also a witch with the power of telekinesis. And she's actually Paige's charge. Now, she doesn't realize that she's calling out to Paige because it's kind of like an internal thing, whatever the case may be. And Paige is getting these nagging headaches. This is at the same time that the sisters are they're in disguise. They are trying to live in witchness protection for all intents and purposes. They've got these new identities, whatever else the case may be, right? Okay, so we're introduced to Billie. We go through our whole little story with Billie. You know, she's kind of just there, but then she's kind of going to be training to take over for the Charmed ones, but she can't because she's just one witch. But anyway, that's not the point. The point here is that she's learning as much as she possibly can from them, right? And then she starts talking about her sister and how her sister was kidnapped when she was a kid, and she remembers it. She doesn't want to remember it. Oh, it's just so traumatic. And she just wants to use magic to find her sister, okay? Well, unfortunately they do. And that is how we get Christy. Now, Christy is a fire starter. Christy, she's not a fire starter. Christy has the power of pyrokinesis. That's what we're going to say. We're going to say that Christy has the power of pyrokinesis. I'm not going to call her a fire starter. She then also develops the power of telepathy. For some reason, they just said whatever. With these 2 in particular, they just said whatever. We got someone who's got the power of pyrokinesis who develops the power of telepathy. Then we have someone with the power of telekinesis who develops the power of projection. They literally just said whatever we need in this moment, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to leave it at that. They said, we're going to do that and you're going to like it. Dagnabbit. Okay? And can I blame them for it? Yeah, I feel like I can. I feel like I can blame them for it, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. I'm just going to accept the fact that it happened. I'm going to accept the fact that it was a storyline, and I'm going to go from there. And I'm just going to leave it at that. That's all I can do. So, okay. Here's the thing about Billie and Christy's storyline that I think flopped. Okay. I think that baseline what flopped about these 2 characters in particular, And this is not shade towards the actresses necessarily, but I think that the characters are not interesting enough for that. I feel like Billie, of her own accord, is interesting enough for us to kind of start to care about her. I kind of like Kaylee Cuoco a little bit more than I like Billie, but I also think that Billie herself is a character that is rootable to a certain extent. I think that she genuinely had a good enough foundation to where she was an okay character. Christy was not interesting in the slightest to me. And when I say interesting, what I mean is like, you want to see a character with layers. You kind of want to see that character that, even if you don't want us to root for them, you want us to actively root against them because they're that menacing. And I think that that's where Christy falls short. She never seems any sort of interest, like menacing. She comes off annoying. And I think that's the big difference. She comes off as like, girl, what are you whining about today? Like, okay, you over there in the corner rolling around, setting fire to trash cans. Like, calm down. You know what I mean? That's how Christy comes off. And I think that that's why, on just a grand scale, they flop. Is because they don't have a good foundation. Hello, Leia. They don't have a good foundation as characters. Now, I think that given what their story could have been, they could have been very interesting. And if they had been written correctly and given more enthusiasm and maybe had stronger actresses. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, okay? Let's just calm down, okay? I know some people don't like Billie and Christy. We're just here just to enjoy doing a little rewrite, just talking a little bit about like what I would change about the story and what I would kind of do to maybe make them fit a little bit better. Now, so the first thing that I wrote down as a talking point for Christy that really I think was a detriment to her character was the suddenness with which she popped up. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, what do you mean sudden? They have been talking about her for like weeks at this point. So how was it sudden? For me, I say sudden because she wasn't there one episode and then she was. And that was really the big point of disconnect between the two of them. What they could have done and should have done was shown Billie going to save her. So that way we can see that she's scared. We can see that maybe she's playing Billie. Maybe she's not quite as scared as they want us to think that she is. Maybe she is so resistant to her saving her because she's like, oh, they're going to come after me. They're going to stop me. They're going to hurt me if you come in here, blah, 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 blah. There was such a missed opportunity to have Billie actually go in and get her. So that's what I mean when I say her appearance was sudden. It was like 1 minute we're watching, literally one episode, we're watching Billie get this power of projection under control. And then the next episode, Christy's just there. Okay, well, how did you get her back? Yeah, we see that you went to where she was and you found out where she was, but how did you get there? Were there demons guarding her? Because what could have happened was Billie could have gone in and been like, oh, wait, there's no guards here. And then she kind of gets this feeling that something is weird, but she's just happy to have her sister back. And then that's our first clue as viewers that something is not right about this. Something is a little bit off, because why aren't there guards here? Why isn't Christy as scared of Billie as she should be? Because if Christy's been, God damn it, their names sound so much alike to me for some reason. And it just, anyway. But if Christy has been in a cave like Pebbles Flintstone for the past decade plus, then I promise you, if some other person comes up to her, she's not just gonna go with them willingly. So what they should have done was shown her be apprehensive or not apprehensive to set that groundwork that, wait a minute, we may need to be a little bit more worried about her than we should, because that was too easy. You know what I mean? Do you see where I'm going with that? You see how they already flopped the storyline before they even got into it just by taking that out? Y'all, I'm not trying to be mean, nor am I trying to be whatever here. Can we please stay on topic? You know what I mean? Like, if you have an opinion about something that's not related to Billie and Christy, I would love to hear it. But right now, we're kind of talking about this. You know what I mean? Like, so thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the other thing that I wrote down for their storyline and kind of why it flopped a little bit is because the Triad was not a good villain to put in the center of this. Now, my main reasoning for that is because the Charmed Ones never fought the Triad. They didn't. They may have fought agents that the Triad sent, but the Charmed Ones never defeated the Triad. They never met the Triad. They had nothing. That storyline went kind of at the end of the day nowhere, because what we got was Prue being so obsessed with like, oh, we got to stop the Triad. We got to stop the Triad. We got to stop them. Then all of a sudden, boom. It just ended one day because Balthazar took him out. And that was it. And we just moved on. And then we had the Charmed Ones didn't even know that the Triad had been vanquished. They had to be told by a demon that the Triad had been vanquished. So bringing them back in season 8 and saying that, oh, they kidnapped this child and they were trying to form this ultimate power. Okay. And now what? Okay. Like, you see what I mean by that? They didn't even give them a good opportunity to have a good villain be at the center of this story, because they just chose some people. They just said, you know what? It is what it is. We're going to pick these folks. And I think that goes back to something that Charmed does sometimes. Charmed has a really bad habit of trying to call back to their own history. And season 8 was where I think they did it the worst, because they didn't fully understand their history. So they had the Triad in the middle of it, but the Charmed Ones had never fought the Triad. But then you've got Piper. Did he say Triad? And it was like, okay, now what? Y'all haven't talked about the Triad in 5 years, and not just not talked about them. They literally have not been relevant to you in 5 years. So what are we sitting here acting like we're scared of the Triad for at this point? You see what I mean? There was no real reason for us to be concerned that the Triad was back. And then they tried to flesh them out. But how can you flesh out somebody that we didn't even have any inkling of before? You gave us these people in scenes here and there, and then you let us watch Balthazar vanquish them, and now you want us to be scared of this new iteration of them? No, I'm not going to do that. So that was really one of the other biggest things that worked against them. So the 2 big points that worked against them: Christy coming in all of a sudden with us not having any kind of bridge to her being a part of the story. We just left one episode and came in another one, and she's there. And then the Triad not being a good villain to center this in. So here's what I propose as for some rewrites, okay? Just stick with me. Now, if you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine. I completely understand. Not everyone is going to agree with everything that I say, and I get it. I fully get it. And sometimes I may change an idea because, y'all, I got notes. I'm so proud of myself. I have notes. Oh, I'm so proud. Anyway, if you're new here, my name is Galen. Hi. We talk about Charmed over here and a bunch of other shows. Today, we're doing a cute little rewrite of the Billie and Christy storyline in season 8. So grab your popcorn, get ready, and let me know what you think respectfully. And if you have some ideas, feel free to hit them on over there and put them on out there. And you can head over to YouTube and you can see some of my previous rewrites of other characters, such as the Seer and Daryl. I did Leo, and I recently did Rex and Hannah, and I've done Matthew Tate. So anyway, you can head on over to my YouTube. They call me Mr. G. Anyway, so let's get into this rewrite. So the first thing that I would do is, if we're going to center a previous villain of the show in the center of their story, right? And we're gonna make, thank you, Brittany. If we're gonna have the a previous villain be the center of them, I would have made it the Avatars. Now, you may be asking yourself, what do you mean the Avatars? How would the Avatars play into this? They weren't even relevant in season 8. And that's exactly why I put them at the center of this story. So I actually had 2 different story lines that I wanted to do with them that I wasn't quite sure which one I wanted to go with. So I'm gonna just share with y'all the first one, and then we'll kind of get into the other one. And I'm looking over at my notes because I feel so, my God. Anyway, so what I would do is, because we know that the Avatars needed the Charmed Ones to help them create Utopia, right? They needed the power of 3. Okay, what I would have had them do is have Billie and Christy be who they were creating to be enforcers. Now, you may be thinking, what does that mean, enforcer? When the Avatars created Utopia, what they were doing was like making sure they were surveilling, they were whatever else, to make sure that there wasn't anyone who could threaten that Utopia, right? Okay. What 2 powers would make the most sense to have in a world like that, where you get rid of people who you think are threatening Utopia? Telepathy, to read their minds, and projection, to get them up out of here. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's all I am saying. So that's what I would have done. Now, for this rewrite, of course, we're taking away the whole thing of Christy has been kidnapped as a child. We're taking that away. I would not put that in there because I don't actually think that adds much to the story, because they don't utilize it. Because, like, in essence, her being kidnapped as a child, you would think would be like the perfect story plot. But they don't really do anything with that, because they never fully call her evil. And if you're going to have have her be kidnapped as a child, I need her to be evil. Okay? Every villain is Lemon's level evil. Okay? Not that level. Can you imagine like Barnacle Boy coming out and just being like, evil? I'm so screaming. I am screaming. Anyway, so back to the story. So what I would do is just have them be 2 sisters who are magical. Now, I would still have the Avatars go after them, because they know that their grandmother was magical, but their mother wasn't, and they haven't displayed any magical talent. And the reason I would kind of go that route is so that way the Avatars could say, like, they have a magical foundation, so it's not gonna be too bad if we insert these powers into them. That could be a cute little callback, okay, to season 2, that their family does have these generations that have been preparing them to handle magic, but they just don't have it. Boom. You can have a nice, cute little callback right there. You don't have to go too deep into it. It don't have to be something that you linger on for, episode after episode. It can just be a cute little memory thing for us, right? Okay. So, like I said, their powers of telepathy and projection would be manufactured. Those would not be powers that are native to them. They are going to be used specifically for them to police, Utopia as it has been shaped by, oh my God, what am I trying to say? By the Avatars. So, here's the thing. Here's where the plan would go awry. Billie actually starts to show that she is a natural born witch. So that's when the power of telekinesis comes out. And so then the Avatars are starting to realize, oh, they're magical. They're actually witches. They're not just people who are descended from witches. So that doesn't necessarily take them too much away from the plan. But what does take them away from what does take the Avatars away from their plan in this little rewrite I'm doing, I am doing a rewrite for everyone who's just coming in. When the Charmed Ones go in there with Zanku and they make them undo Utopia, that will take away the need for Billie and Christy. So when the Charmed Ones stop Utopia from happening, and now the avatars are weakened, because you got to remember, they already lost Cole. So Cole was part of their power set, was part of their collective magic. Cole is gone. He weakened it a little bit, but he was still new enough to where he didn't fully weaken it. But now they've also lost another member of the of their collective. So now they actually are weak. So everything could still kind of play out where they can only go back in time like a day or whatever it was. But past that, they're no longer a threat because they don't have that same level of power. They don't have that same level of magic to do the things that they could do before. So now that the avatars, and we could even bring them, we could bring Billie and Christy in. Okay, we could bring Billie and Christy in season 7 and kind of show that they have been, how they're being manipulated by the avatars. You could even talk about how the avatars took them when they were like teenagers to a boarding school, right? And that's how you could get into how the avatars got ahead of themselves, because they had to use manipulation tactics, magical manipulation tactics, to make the parents sign them over. So this is where you could get them going to get that magical training and do the experiments and whatever else. So you introduce that in season 7. We see them gearing up to be like their enforcers, their police, right? So then when time gets rewound, now our girls are just sitting here looking crazy. But because they are connected to the avatar's magic, they remember everything that happened. Like, they remember every single piece of it. And the avatars at this point just completely discard them. They don't even worry about trying to wipe their memories. They don't worry about trying to take away the knowledge that they have. They just kind of abandon them like a project. Now at this point, okay, going into season 8, Billie could be like, you know what? Let's just put that time of our lives behind us. It's over. We've got these powers. My power of projection never came to fruition, but my telekinesis that's my power. Or maybe she doesn't know what the power was that they put inside of her. So she thinks that the telekinesis was the power that they gave to her. So she thinks, hey, I got this power. I'm just going to go ahead, go live my life. I know I'm still a witch. Let me go da-da-da-da. But Christy, who has the power of pyrokinesis, and she thinks that that was her power, she is upset and she's mad. And she feels like they abandoned us. This was something. Then you could also get into the disconnect that she has with her parents, right? And maybe she saw the avatars as a surrogate parent. And so now she feels like they've abandoned her. She doesn't have her parents. Her and Billie aren't exactly on good terms. So what season 8 could kind of be about is us watching Christy not know how to deal with the fact that the one thing they were supposed to do is no longer in place, and Billie trying to pick up the pieces and move on. So they're growing apart as people and as sisters, but they also are starting to grow apart magically, because Billie is starting to lean into good magic, and she's starting to lean into what it means to be a good witch, things like that. Christy is starting to lean into the evil part of magic. And no, I do not mean triad. So hi, David, by the way. So if you're just coming in, I am doing a Charmed rewrite. I wish that I could put it up here, but I don't know how to do words up here, and I'm sorry. But I am doing a rewrite of how we could possibly make Billie and Christy a much stronger storyline going into this season, because it's just, you know, yeah. I that's what I kind of hate about doing live. This kind of thing live is because not everyone's gonna know, but that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just rewriting the storyline. So up to this point, what I have said is that Billie and Christy were agents of the avatars. They were supposed to be given powers so that they could be enforcers for them in this utopia. But since utopia didn't happen, they no longer have a function. They don't serve any kind of function. They're just regular people. And so at this point, what we could have would be Billie, like I said, living her normal life, but also leaning into good magic. Christy being taken over more and more by anger. she could start leaning into evil magic, and she could start leaning into wanting to fight the charmed ones because she feels like the charmed ones are the ones who ruined everything. So at this point, what we get is watching Christy go down to, it's given very yin and yang. Exactly. We could have Christy go down to the underworld and not trying to like organize the charmed, organize evil to become like the next source or anything like that. I wouldn't want to go that far, but I would want her to become a leader in the underworld. And that's when, so she already has the power of her pyrokinesis, right? Because that's her witch power. But just like Billie thinks that telekinesis, so in this universe that I'm creating, the avatars gave each of them a power, but the power didn't manifest. But Billie's power of telekinesis did, and the avatars thought, girl, okay, she got a witch power, whatever. But Billie thinks that the telekinesis is the power that they gave her. But she doesn't know it's actually projection. Projection is the one that is going to activate later on. For Christy, she got telepathy from them, but she gets the pyrokinesis as her natural witch power. So when that manifests, she thinks that that's her power that she got from them. So while she's down there and she's starting to kind of like organize the underworld adjacent, her telepathy kicks in. And she's like, wait, where did this come from? I didn't know this was a power. What's happening here? And then she starts using that telepathy to kind of see who her enemies are, see what their weaknesses are, things like that. You see where I'm going? Mama could be a force to be reckoned with. And then upon absolutely knowing that someone is not for her, she could just vanquish them. But she doesn't tell them that she has that power of telepathy, because that's her little secret. And they can't figure out how she knows all these things. They can't figure out how she knows who's plotting against her, or who's thinking I'm not gonna follow her because she's a witch or something like that. And so that gains her a lot of respect, and they could even think that she has some form of visions. Now that's a very important thing, because evil reveres some visions. Okay, they will go to a seer in a minute. And so if they think that she has visions, and they think that she has the power to see into the future or something like that, then they're absolutely going to start working with her, because they know if I betray her in any kind of way, she can get me up out of here, because they do know about the pyrokinesis. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, she could use these powers to her advantage. And then on the opposite end, as her telepathy starts to manifest, that's when Billie's projection manifests, because the powers are tied to each other. Then you could even have her find out that Billie has the power of projection, and she gets upset because she thinks, okay, wait, so the avatars put these powers in us, but they gave me telepathy and they gave you projection? What did they see in you that was so much better? I'm the one that has the firepower. You just have telekinesis. You see where I'm going with that? So now we have not only this storyline of her organizing the underworld, not only do we have her using her powers to her advantage, using them in a secretive way, but now we also have this underlying tension of, why am I not as special as you? Why didn't I get that power? I'm the older sister. I'm the one that should be the most powerful. Because projection is on a whole other level. I'm sorry. Like, yeah, you and your pyrokinesis, that's cute. That's absolutely cute. But someone with projection, I'm sorry, they're going to eat you up. They can absolutely eat you up. So that could be a point of contention in this storyline. And now, another thing that I would do is have the parents be involved, right? So I would have them be a little bit more, I would have them be a little bit more involved in the story. Like, they know something is wrong because their kids aren't really talking, but they can't figure out what it is. And they have no idea that their daughters were used by the avatars in this story. So if you're just coming in, I'm doing a rewrite of the Billie and Christy storyline. But the parents know something is up and they have no idea of everything that happened. So then Billie can find out from her mama, just like normal, that the grandmother was a witch, right? And then they start kind of putting pieces together and through whatever means, and they find out like the full depth of what the avatars really were doing and how they fit into that plan. And now, the one thing I will absolutely 100% not do, I do not want the mama to have magic. I don't think that the mama needs to have any kind of magic. I don't think that she needs to be magical in any way. Neither does the father. I don't want either one of them to have magic because I think that kind of defeats the purpose. Like, I tend to be one of those people that like stories where not everybody is going to be special. You know, like not everyone can have magic. That's why I don't necessarily like inserting, like when people will be like, no, they should have had magic. No, they shouldn't. It's okay for some people to not be magical. I think that adds a little spiciness to the story. But even though she's not magical, maybe she saved her mother's book of shadows. And her mama told her, like, you know, in case one of the girls is magical, give them this. Then they get to going through mama's book of shadows. Maybe grandma was a powerful psychic. And maybe grandma had the power of telepathy, just like Christy does. But maybe she also had the power of premonition. And she wanted them to have that book because she knew that something was coming. She could never figure it out. Because I do want to say that I wouldn't make her power quite as, I would find a way to not make it as powerful as Phoebe's. Now, here's the issue with that, is I'm not quite sure what that means, because I feel like Phoebe's power, as powerful as it was, because we never really get that grand display of it in any substantial way, other than like when she projects into the future. I think that was a huge indicator of what her power could be. Maybe this woman can only see things that are related to her family, something like that. Like she can only see things that have to do with her blood. I don't know. I would have to think about that a little bit more. I'd have to think about that particular thing a little bit more. But maybe she can only do something like that. But she could never see super far into the future. And that's why this one premonition that she had was so powerful, was that she saw like 20, 30 years into the future. Right? And so she tried to document it as best she could, but it happened so fast and she wasn't expecting it, because she can only, let's just put a limit on her power and say that she can only really see one potential future at a time, and she can only get a premonition that's up to like a couple of days into the future. Like any vision that she has is only gonna be maybe, and she can't see into the past. Maybe she can't see into the past, and she can only see in the future up to like 3 days, right? And so this one particular vision, she's like, who the hell was that? And then she realizes that they look like her a little bit, or like her daughter, and she realizes those might be my you know what I mean? My grandchildren. And so she decides to write that down in her book of shadows for them. And so even in going into her book of shadows, because Billie's going to be the one who's going to get it. Billie is going to be the one who's going to have that information. And I think it's really important to make sure that Billie has that connection to good magic in all forms, because I think Billie is the special one. But I'm not saying she's Wyatt, because I think that's another thing that the show kind of did unintentionally, because they were trying to get that spinoff with her, And I think what they did unintentionally that didn't work in their favor was they made Billie special, but then kind of didn't make Billie special at the same time. Like, one of the things that we were kind of talking about in the comments of a video was the fact that for Billie, I think Billie was the power, like the actual ultimate power. And then like Christy was just sort of the add-on to sort of bring her into the fold. I don't think Christy herself was in any shape, form, or fashion like special. I really don't. I think it was just supposed to symbolize like sisters versus sisters, but ultimately Christy was not important. And so I think that what the show tried to do was show us Billie's specialness. And like, this is why the Charmed Ones are taking her under her wing. But it just kind of flopped because, again, it didn't go anywhere. Like, she vanquishes Christy, and then it's like they kind of imply like, okay, well, the threat is over now because Christy is gone. When in reality, what that could have done was sent Billie on a rampage, and that could have turned her, that could have unleashed the ultimate power in her. You know? Like, she doesn't have her parents anymore. Now she doesn't have her sister. And she's the one who caused it. Like, that trauma alone could have caused her to turn to the dark side. I'm just saying. But that's just me. And so that's why, like, in this turn of events, I would want Billie to have her own connection to magic. Her own familial connection to magic. Because what she ends up doing is taking a lot of the stuff that the sisters have talked about in their book, and then she puts it for some reason in her book of in her own book of shadows. And it's like, what? So you telling me that the Warren witches have spent hundreds of years cultivating these pages, cultivating this knowledge, and then Billie gets to come in and then draw some in a notebook real quick? No, that's not how, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how that should work. She should be she should have her own family knowledge. She should have, and that's why I would go out of my way to have the mother give Billie this magic that her own mother had. And she'd be like, I'll be honest with you, I tried to cast a spell one time, but it didn't work because I'm not magical. Reinforcing the fact mama is not magical in any kind of way. And also just having her say, like, it made me feel closer to her. She loved magic and she loved what she could do. But, you know, it just, there's nothing I can do with it. And so it's your time to have it. So that way that boosts up in our head that Billie is the next generation. She may not be the next generation of Halliwell, but she is in fact the next generation of witch. That also isolates Christy just a tap more to make her feel less connected to her sister, but also less connected to magic. And so that's why she's diving deeper and deeper and deeper into these demons. Now, what I would do with this, here's the problem with this story. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Here's the problem with this story. In any form, in any fashion. It kind of doesn't matter whether it's me rewriting it. It doesn't matter if it's the original story. The Charmed Ones are secondary, if we're being 100% honest. There's the Charmed Ones are secondary in any version of a story with Billie and Christy. Because to fully flesh them out, or even just to have a story that makes sense, you can't have two competing shows. Because that's what it is at a certain point. Like, do you hear how in depth all of this is that we're even talking about right now? That's a completely separate show. Which I understand was you're a talent agent and one of your clients is Dorian Gregory. Jamesy, listen, if you really are, then I would love to work with Dorian Gregory. If you really are, I'm gonna shoot my shot right now, right here in front of everybody. If you really are, if you're not, then, you know. But if you are, hook a brother up, okay? He follows me on Instagram. We follow each other. So, you know what I mean? Send you a message. I sure will. Jamesy, if you're playing with me, I promise you I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. I am going to cry. Listen, I've already interviewed Brian Krause and I interviewed Michael Bailey Smith. So I have a resume, okay? It's not like I'm just out here some random person talking about this, okay? I do this. This is what I do. And Dorian knows that. So I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna if you follow him on Insta, he would I did see that he did join the talent agency. It's just your specific name. And I did send an email, but I don't know if I sent it to the right place. I think I sent it to the wrong person. Okay. Now Jamesy, listen, we got fingers, toes, eyes, everything crossed. This is coming to fruition. Okay. It's coming to fruition. Okay. All right, Jamesy, I'm gonna get with you. I'm gonna get with you after this. Okay. So, all right, you got me hyped now. All right, the power of G is gonna set us free. You got me hyped now, Jamesy. But yeah, this particular story, I think that's why they wanted to make it a spinoff, because it is too big of a story to just have it be a one-off thing. You know what I mean? Like, it is too big of a thing to just have it be contained, I think, to a 22 episode season that's supposed to be about a whole other set of sisters. There's no way that it's gonna be, that it can just be jam-packed. And so that's what's so hard about this, because I don't know if y'all have heard me as I've been talking about all of this. I haven't brought the sisters up except like 2 or 3 times. And it's been like secondary to them. That's the motivating factor for Christy to, try to do this underworld takeover, because she blames them. They play no real big role, because I think at the end of the day, the problem with a story like Billie and Christy's is that because it is a sister relationship, that's what we need to see. We need to see how the sister story is unfolding. Because with season 8, I think part of just followed you on Insta from the agency. Okay, all right, we're gonna make this happen. Okay, Jamesy. Okay, I feel good now. I feel all right. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna just take this moment and just say why I feel like sometimes I get so skeptical. The internet is full of can be deceptive sometimes, and I don't want to get my hopes up, and then it's just, I don't know. So that's what it is. I am speaking into existence that this is real, that it's gonna manifest. I love Dorian. I would love to work with him. And I just wanted to say that out loud. Like, that's what, if I seem like I'm just like, oh. so I apologize. I look forward to talking to you. As you can see, I love talking about Charmed. I love it. I actually did a rewrite of Daryl on my YouTube, so that's actually available like on my YouTube to do. I love me some Dorian. Oh, I love him real bad. But you'll see it when you check your Insta. Okay, purr, baby, listen, because I'll turn this off and go look. Baby, opportunity. But no, thank you for reaching out. I appreciate it. And hopefully you can see my enthusiasm. Hopefully you can see my enthusiasm for the show, for Dorian, just for all of it. But yeah, with this story, have I done a rewatch of The Wedding from Hell on your Patreon? Yes, I have. But yes, but back to this though, this story that we're rewriting, because that's kind of what I've been doing. Here's the thing, is I do think one thing I wrote down was that I would have Christy try to reunite with Billie and be her sister again in this rewrite, in this version of the story. I would have Christy still come back to Billie and try to reconnect with her. But instead of Billie being like over the moon that her sister is back, she has a very uneasy feeling. She doesn't feel good. There's something. Oh, come on, from Kenya? Purr. Come on, purr. Hello, Jake. Um, but have Billie kind of be apprehensive and like, where is this sudden desire for connection coming from? You know, like, why does she all of a sudden want to come back and be back in my life? And then, you know, Christy is really putting up a good front, pretending like she wants to be a part of her sister's life. You know, oh my God, I love you so much. I missed you. And we were just da-da-da-da. You know, we were always the duo, and I missed that. I don't know who I am. I lost my way. But the whole time she's playing Billie. And I think, hi, Shy Kid, I think the reason I would mainly do that is to show just how deceptive Christy can be intentionally. Because what we kind of get on the show is this version of Christy that's always checking in with somebody. Someone always has kind of like a leash on her, so to speak. And so she never really has any autonomy. And then by the time she does have autonomy in the latter half of the latter part of the season, when she's trying to get Billie to betray the Charmed Ones, by then it just feels like she's carrying out this plan that was already laid down for her. So what I would do is truly have Christy be working of her own accord. Like, she is trying her hardest to get revenge on the Charmed Ones, and even if she has to steamroll Billie to do so, she will. That's just how blinded by hatred she is that she's willing to do whatever, because for once in her life she actually felt like she had a purpose. So at this point, thank you. At this point, you know, again, I would have Billie still feeling uneasy, and then I would have Christy be keeping tabs on everyone with her telepathy, right? That Billie still does not, in this universe, in this little universe that I'm rewriting and creating, Billie would not know that Christy has telepathy. She would not be able to, but she knows something is up, because again, the telepathy and the projection would be connected, because in this universe, those are powers that the avatars gave to them. So Christy knows about Billie's projection. Billie does not know about Christy's telepathy. So she's keeping tabs on everyone, making sure that they're not that they're not suspicious of her, making sure that they are not on to anything that she may be doing, making sure that they're not privy to the issues that she's having. You see where I'm going with that? You see? Now, here's the little monkey wrench I would throw into this. Here's the little monkey wrench that I would throw into it, just to be petty. Because we love a good, and this would actually, I think, be what I would have used as the catalyst for the end of the season. I would have Phoebe's empathy come back into play around this time. But it's coming in very, very slowly for whatever reason, right? And you could throw something, you could throw in there later on that, like, the angels of destiny know that the ultimate power is coming, or the ultimate power, however you want to phrase it, and they know that Phoebe's empathy is going to be necessary, but they're having to undo the spell of the tribunal, and so it's taking a little time. So Phoebe is getting the power back slowly, but she doesn't realize that it's the empathy, and so it's more like this feeling of dread she'll just randomly get, or she'll just randomly just feel really happy, or she'll just, because she doesn't understand that she's taking in other people's emotions. Phoebe is going to be key to this situation, because Phoebe is, I don't want to say the only one. I do not want to say the only one. But there's two reasons that I really would have Phoebe be the reason that we get to this point in the story where Christy gets exposed. Phoebe understands that feeling of being less than, and Phoebe understands that feeling of never quite equaling up to somebody else. And so she would be able to really relate to both of them. Like, and again, that could go back to Phoebe being the one that's always struggled with that internal battle of good and evil. And Billie and Christy could actually be the manifestation of that for her. Is it a reach? Maybe a little bit. maybe a little bit, but just follow me here, okay? We're going somewhere with it. So on one hand, she feels exactly what Billie is feeling, that uneasiness, that something is wrong, that desire to just move on with your life after you have been a part of this great magical destiny travesty, whatever you want to call it. And she's going to relate that back to her relationship with Cole, right? And so she understands that feeling of wanting to pick up the pieces. But then she also can understand Christy and that desire to have a feeling of belonging and have a feeling of being powerful, of being in something, you know. And we can watch her relate to Christy in that way. And while Piper and Paige are being like, girl, we need to go ahead and take this lady out, that could be why Phoebe is like, we can't. There's still humanity left in her. And then what you could have is when Piper and Paige, you know, basically kind of be like, girl, we need to vanquish that lady. You could have Phoebe say like, well, you tried to vanquish me. And everybody in the room be like, Now, you may be like, Gayla, what the hell are you talking about? When Piper got to throwing them potion bottles, them poisons, when Piper got to throwing them exploding, skin melting potions, she wasn't trying to stop Phoebe. I'm sorry. You can't tell me she was. She wasn't trying to bind Phoebe's powers. She was trying to melt that lady's skin off. Okay, she was trying to melt that woman's skin. She was trying to poison her. She wanted her gone. Okay, and so you could have Phoebe bring that up and say, is that just how y'all resort to someone not fitting your definition of good, or your definition of someone that's capable of change? Because what if you didn't think that I was capable of change? I would just be gone right now. And then you can kind of go back to these issues that they have had as sisters their entire life. And then you could even incorporate the fact that Paige is just kind of like, I ain't in this because this is between y'all. And then them be like, yes, you are, because you're our sister. You see what I mean? Like, you can have their internal issues come to the surface, and then boom, that's when Christy strikes. That's when Christy has turned the entire magical community against them. That's when Christy has gotten this entire demonic horde behind her, and they're pushing the charmed ones out of their house, because now they're the most divided they've ever been. Piper and Phoebe are squabbling. Paige don't even feel like she belongs in the place. And when I say the most they've ever been, there's a difference when it was still new, because they were connecting as sisters and they knew that there was still a job that needed to be done, right? And so they still had that thing sort of in the center of their relationship. We are the charmed ones. No, I don't get along with them every day, but you know, hey, we got a job to do. But now they've got Billie and Christy here representing this good and evil, and them literally having to choose sides. And because Christy is human, now they have to get into the whole aspect of, is she capable of redemption? Can we save her? Can we do anything? And then Phoebe, who was once an evil being herself, literally the queen of all evil, then she can say, if I was worth redeeming, then why isn't Christy? And then you can kind of have this aspect of Piper saying, no, she's not. Because again, that would go back to Piper immediately disconnecting from Phoebe and just being like, girl, we're going to poison her. We're going to melt her skin off. We're going to scald the flesh. We're going to do whatever we need to do. You can go back to that and call up this moment in time where you could write it off initially as Piper was just at a weak state because Phoebe was evil and she felt like, well, I can't save her. But now we see that's how Piper actually is. And that hurts Phoebe, because if you didn't even see the redemption, if you can't see the redemption in her, how did you ever see redemption in me? And then maybe Piper can just let it slip. I didn't. Girl, do you know how that would eat as a story? Do you know how that would eat as a story? And then in the midst of all of this, you got Christy coming in. She done broke up the power of three, sort of, a little bit. And now she's got the demonic underworld coming after them. And maybe possibly has turned the magical community off, because I really don't think that that's necessary. But I'm just saying. So if you're new in here, I'm doing a rewrite of the show. I am doing what I think could help Billie and Christy be a little bit more relevant and solid as a story, as a sister duo. Okay. So at this point, the Charmed Ones are broken up. They still love each other, right? But they're not cohesive as a unit right now. And so Billie and Christy are kind of like, Billie is not on Christy's side necessarily, but now that she's hearing that Piper once tried to vanquish Phoebe, she's looking at them differently. And then you could use Phoebe, you could have Christy use her telepathy to hear Phoebe kind of going through a list of all the things that she perceives, okay? Not that has happened, but that she perceives has happened. How her sisters have slighted her, how she always felt like the black sheep. And then you could have Christy use that power to tell Billie her sisters don't even like her. Listen to what her sisters did. They abandoned her. They made her feel so isolated that she's the reason that Balthazar wasn't vanquished. Blah, 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 blah. And then Billie could just be like, huh? Because again, I think that is one part that kind of works, is Billie being pliable. But then I also hate the fact that Billie didn't have her own mind either. So I think that one thing I would work towards is Billie start to kind of question, like, how do you know all this stuff? And then she'll be like, I don't know. I've found things out. And then she's still wanting to believe Christy, because even though at this point she knows Christy is up to no good, she's kind of seeing the evil, or not evil. She's seeing the negatives of the Charmed Ones. And then eventually she gets to a point where she's like, Christy, wait, how do you know this? And then Christy tells her about her power of telepathy. And she says, how long have you had this power? And Christy kind of tries to give her like a vague amount of time. And she's just like, I mean, long enough to know that the Charmed Ones aren't good people. And then she realized, and then like Christy lets it slip that she knows about Billie's projection, when Billie's been trying to keep that under wraps. Do you see how that story could go? The one person that Billie was starting to trust again, the one person that she wanted to be back in cahoots with, that she wanted to reconnect with, has now betrayed her. That would be such a good story. So I hate doing this, but we're doing a rewrite. So if you hear something, you're like, that's not how that happened, it's because I'm doing a rewrite, okay? It didn't happen, but it should have. Graham said, "You bad people." No, it wasn't. No, I always do that. It's not little Piper that says it. It's little Prue. Because I always make, oh, thank you, Shy Kid. Thank you. Because little Prue to me always sounded like Paul Lynde, Uncle Arthur from Bewitched. And she literally is like, Graham said, "You bad people." And and little Piper's like, if you're weary family, prove it. So anyway, can you just imagine? Graham said, "You're bad people." Sammy, we can't go in there. Graham said, "You're bad people." It just, anyway. What I think you could also do, with Billie and Christy, that was really, really a missed opportunity, was show another angle of the oldest and youngest relationship. Okay. So that was really, really a missed opportunity, because I think that what they could have done was had Christy as the oldest one. Billie was always the one that had her own mind. Billie was the one who always was so headstrong and could take care of herself. But again, you'd have to go back and you'd have to characterize them, because I think that the way it kind of comes off once Christy gets there is definitely that Billie is just following her big sister that she hasn't seen in over a decade. When in reality, I think that what they could have done and should have done was, because Billie had grown up without a sister, she had to be self-sufficient and take care of herself as an only child would. And so when Christy comes in trying to tell her like, oh, we should do this, we should do that, Billie should be like, no ma'am, no ma'am, no ma'am. I do not want to do that. And I'm not going to do that. Because again, Billie's had to take care of herself her whole life. And I think that in a universe where the two of them maybe weren't separated as children and have always had to work together, you can characterize it to where Christy, even though she's older, it could be a juxtaposition to the Charmed ones, where they always relied on Prue, right? They always relied on Prue because their parents were gone and Prue had to help raise them and whatever else. And then you can even have Piper and Phoebe reflect a lot on how they remind them so much of them, but in a different way. Because they were raised in a two-parent household. They know what it's like to have healthy family dynamics that aren't based in your grandma trying to parentify your older sister. You know what I mean? Do you see where I'm going with that? You can I'm not saying that they have to have some conversation where they bash Grams and say, oh, well, Grams had us relying on her and whatever else. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you could have them be envious of Billie that she's able to take care of herself without having to rely fully on Christy. You can have them have conversation about the fact that Christy seems so lost because even though they had each other, they kind of were in their own little worlds and now they're even more separated. That can ultimately, so if you're just getting here for this little rewrite that I'm doing of the story, what I would do is have the Charmed ones kind of be like going through it, and then that's how Christy gets her in. And at the same time that Billie and Christy are kind of they're having their little blow up and they're getting away from each other, that their story can be what bonds the Charmed ones back together, because it can help Piper and Phoebe to see that no matter what, we need to stick together. Because the one thing we've always had, whether things were good, whether things were bad, we've always had each other. And they can kind of remember that. And then Paige being the outlier, I think that makes a great story, because Paige isn't going to have that same level of connection that Piper and Phoebe have. So they're bonding by seeing these sisters, right? And then Paige can kind of be reminded that y'all have always had each other. I never did. And then I think that would be a good opportunity to kind of explore Paige a little bit. Now, again, all of this needs to happen over episodes. This don't need to be 2 episodes, one and done. This needs to be over the course of the season, okay? And we can kind of get into, now this particular thing can be an episode, but like Paige's struggle to connect with them. Then you could even have Christy say and tell us as the audience that Paige doesn't feel connected to them because they've always got these little inside jokes. They've always got whatever things that she's not privy to. And then you could have Paige say something like, y'all have never even said you love me. And then they kind of get wide-eyed like, yeah, we have. And you realize, no, you haven't. Now that could be a cute little callback to Prue. That could be a cute little callback to Prue. And they think that they've been telling Paige that they love her, when in reality, they have not. And it's because they're scared to connect with her the same way they can the way that they connected with Prue, because they've always been scared that they would lose her too. They say it to each other because they're used to saying it to each other. But they don't say it to her because they're scared that they're going to lose her the same exact way. And then it could also go back to what Phoebe said. Maybe you don't start with love. Maybe you start with thanks. So what happens when you don't start with love and you never quite get to that point? So at the same time that Billie and Christy are blowing up as a sisterhood, then you have them finally telling Paige verbally, I love you. And then boom, the Book of Shadows comes back together. Why did you get muted then? I don't know, but you're going to get muted now too. I'm so sorry. But you see where I'm going with that? Do you see how that story kind of like eats? Even if it doesn't eat, it nibbles a little bit. Okay, you gotta. Now you can't tell me I didn't do that. You can't tell me I didn't eat that up. You cannot tell me. You can try, and you can be like, no, that wasn't good. I don't care, because I think it was good. I think it eats. Having the two of them fall apart at the same time that you have the power of three reconnecting, reminding us why the power of three is the most powerful form of sisterhood / good magic. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then you could end the season. You could really end the season. Here's where I struggle. Is what to do with Christy. That's why I really, really struggle. Because the video I made the other day, people kind of made me understand or made me realize it truly was Billie's fight in the end. Like, it actually was Billie's fight in the end to take out Christy. It wasn't the Charmed One's fight. And so, like, while I always, just joke about like they could have done something, it does make sense. Like, this isn't their thing to get involved in. So here in this rewrite that I'm doing, here's where I get a little iffy is I don't know. I think Christy going on to the next world would really depend on what her and Billie are capable of doing together. And I'm not talking about just making a big old fireball, right? I'm not talking about that. Magically, outside of that, what can they accomplish together that they couldn't accomplish separately? Because if we're just being 100% honest about it, Billie can make a fireball of her own accord. She could just project a fireball and make, you know what I mean? Like, she could do that. She could do that. And so I feel like what I would end up doing is I would probably bind Christy's powers and then wipe her memory and send her off somewhere. I know that that's so boring. I know that's such a boring ending. But putting her in a place, and I'm not talking about wiping her memory with just like, oh, we're wiping her memories with a spell. No, I'm talking about using the dust, the white lighter dust, like completely just making up a whole new persona in this woman's mind. You know what I mean? Like, I would have this woman so that way she's not a threat, but at the same time she's human. So I would strip her of, and not bind, I would strip, okay, Mama of magic. I'm talking about we going up in there, removing every magical gene, removing every single magical gene that we can think of. She ain't finna be using no more magic. Ain't nothing finna happen, okay? I get up out of here and suddenly she can cast a spell. No. I'm talking about like we finna remove this woman's magic fully. But I would do something, I think, because Christy would know her sister better than anybody. And so I think that oh God, yes, Connor. Oh my God, yes, they ate that up. Angel said, I'm gonna protect this little person. I can't stand Connor, but yes, something like that. I think I would do something like make her a school teacher. It'd be something stupid like that, right? And so the Charmed Ones would be like, why did you make her a school teacher? And then Billie, can you imagine Billie with a better actress that can actually cry? Like, Billie standing there with a tear in her eye, and she's standing there and she says, because it's what she always wanted to be. Girl, I'm sorry, but that would eat. That would absolutely eat. Like, if she was standing there and she's just crying and like she's finally getting to see her sister do this beautiful thing that she always wanted to do, but her sister doesn't even know that she sees her. She didn't even know she's her sister. It could have ate. Could have absolutely ate. It could have absolutely ate. And then we still get the end with the Charmed Ones and them writing in the book and, elderly Piper and Leo falling down the stairs. Definitely. The people did not fall down the stairs. But in my mind, elderly Piper and Leo fell down the stairs. In my mind, they did. And, it's in Piper's blood. Like, for Piper, it's just in her blood to fall down the stairs. So, it's like, that wouldn't be too hard for her to do. You know what I mean? And then... and then Lily, I mean, he deserves it. So, why not? Get all the way up to the... I would love for this to be a part of your YouTube rewrite series. I do need to... I know for sure I'm going to upload it on Patreon. I think I'm going to upload it on YouTube as well. I do. I think I'm going to upload it on YouTube as well. I did a self-interview on YouTube as also, if y'all want to go check that out. It was just me kind of asking myself questions about being a content creator, kind of my journey to get here, what it's been like. So if you want to learn a little bit more about moi, then please head on over there and go see. I need to start posting clips on here. That's what I need to do. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. Because I feel like that was a good rewrite. I feel like that ate. I feel so good because I got my notes. Baby, I got my notes over here and I feel like I ate that up. But the thing is because Billie and Christy, to me, have a really, really good foundation of a story. I think that Billie is not a bad character. I think that Christy ends up being a bad character because they didn't know how to put her in the orbit of Billie and have them connect. They didn't know how to make them sisters. I don't think they quite understood what that meant. And so that's why I think she ultimately falls short, is that they just don't know how to characterize her. She doesn't have any characterization. She comes off as very whiny. She comes off as very, she comes off a little too focused on the mission. And I think that the whole, of course, the whole point of taking the parents out was supposed to be to get her back on course with the mission. But it didn't feel like she was off course enough to cause something like that. You know what I mean? Like, she's not, I don't think that she turns good enough to warrant the parents being unalived. I feel like they use that to be like, oh, look at how bad the triad is. But girl, who cares about the triad? Because the thing is, like, if you're gonna bring the triad back, they needed to be their own entity. They didn't need to be using someone as a puppet. What they should have done was, if they were going to use the triad as kind of like the ultimate power, the ultimate whatever, then the triad should have been pulling the strings and then realized, we tried this with Balthazar and it didn't work. So now we need to actually clock in directly. And I think that's when it could have gone into a new direction. That's when that whole story could have gone a lot more intensely, is if the triad were the ones casting spells, if the triad were the ones impersonating people. And I think it would make us understand that, like, this new iteration of the triad, they're not finna sit around and try to puppet somebody. They're not, I definitely think that the Roe Coven should have been the ultimate power. And that is because I personally think that there should not be a separate universe for evil. I don't think that. I think that's probably one of the worst mistakes Charmed made, but that's what I hate about their magic system. It's a little too binary. And so they created this whole separate evil universe where the Charmed ones are evil, but they don't tell us what that fully means, what they do, who they are. And so the Roe Coven should have been an in-universe answer to the Charmed ones. The Roe Coven should have been the ones that were crafted and created to combat the Charmed ones. And then I think they did a huge disservice by vanquishing them in season 1. What they should have done was kind of toyed with what happens when good doesn't have its evil counterpart? What happens when good doesn't have something to balance it out? Because here's the thing, they never talk about what happens when you tip the scales in favor of good as a bad thing, right? It's always like, yep, and for today, good is tipped to the scales of the whatever, the balance is tipped in the scale of good. And they always make it seem like it's this thing that we should strive for. It's this thing that is just so, amazing that we should be wanting to do. But what you end up with is them just always making it seem like, yeah, good should be the one in the lead. Because when they try to do it with the evil universe and then with our universe, by having it be, oh, good can't be that far ahead, then, people getting popped, for parking in somebody's parking space, and they're overcorrecting by being good. And it's like, but you've never told us that good being in the lead or good doing something more could be an issue. You never told us that. You never told us that. You never showed us that. You always made it seem like good being in the lead was going to be good. A good thing. So to me, I think bringing the triad back is just like, okay, bring back the row coven. What should happen is every time a powerful force of good spawns, powerful force of evil is spawned as well. And vice versa. And vice versa. If the evil charmed ones were completed first, then the good charmed ones need to be completed at the same time. Phoebe and Brendan should be the same age. You could even have Phoebe and Brendan be born on the same day. And so that was showing us that Magic already knew that this was going to happen. And so when he came into existence and he balanced out the row coven and completed their triangle, then Phoebe was born and she completed the powers of the charmed ones. Boom. Problem solved. And then season 8 could be those two powers coming together. Only one can be in charge. Only one can rule. And y'all, I'm gonna tell you right now, if we get to talking about the stuff that happened on set and all this and that, we don't talk about that here. Okay. So if you want to talk about that, then please go elsewhere. Okay. Or at least refrain from doing it here, and then you can do it somewhere else. The writers got lazy also with the cat. Okay. But it's like, to me, I just feel like that was the big issue that they, no, you're fine. I know you didn't mean to do, so you're good. You're good. It was just reading off the other comment. That was what made me react like that. So I'm sorry. I apologize to you, L. I'm going to follow you. And if I haven't followed you and you followed me during this live, I'm going to follow you back. Sometimes you got to give me a minute because, it just takes me a cute little second. But yeah, that's what season 8 should have been. It should have been more of a discussion between the balance and keeping the balance. It should have been more of what happens when the charmed ones who are there for good aren't fully doing their job. What happens? Someone said something. Do you think Christy and Christy and Billie could have brought back Prue? I wouldn't want them to. I hate the idea of Prue being brought back. And let me tell you why. In this universe, the fact that death is finite when it needs to be finite. When it gets to a very specific point, there's not enough. And I think that we learned that lesson through Miles. But then when you also go to things like Patty dying, Graham's dying, people die. And what I think I hate, and I know Prue comes back in the comics, but I hate it. I hate that she comes back in the comics. Because the one thing that always bothers me the most about Prue's storyline is that she doesn't, when you boil it down, Prue doesn't feel like she has anything else going on except being a witch. She always feels like that is her full identity. And so the notion of Prue not being able to let go and that being what brings her back, that she just couldn't let go. And so she hopped into this woman's body and she whatever else. I hate that so much. Let that woman rest. And that's what makes me really, really sad about the notion of Prue stealing somebody else's body because she just felt like her destiny wasn't fulfilled. It's like, let that woman rest. Stop. You're using her for story, but you're still using her in that way. She can't even go to the afterlife. She cannot even have a happy afterlife because she still feels restless. And I just hate that. I just hate it. I just hate that so much. And that's why when people say things like bringing back Prue and Prue needed to come back, Prue coming back to life is not... I just hate that idea that because they're charmed, they have some special access to coming back. That's not how life works. If she was reincarnated and she went to go be some other person, whatever else, and she kind of had vague memories of it, that would be one thing. I absolutely could get behind that. If we found out that like she was reincarnated into a little girl and or whatever, and she comes back, and like Piper sees her somewhere out with her mama. Because here's the thing, at the end of Charmed, if Prue was reincarnated, she would have been 5. She would have been 5 years old. And so it's like, you could see her out at the store, and like Piper looks at her and she sees her and she's like, and like the little girl waves like she kind of knows her, but she doesn't. Because here's the thing, I would emphasize that the little girl does not know Piper, but that she kind of does. And Piper feels it and she can tell who she is. I would not let it be a direct descendant of them. I just wouldn't. I would let it be, if it's gonna be maybe like a great granddaughter or something like that. But I kind of would do like, she's a cousin that didn't grow up with him. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I think I would let it be somewhere over there. Like, she's somebody that they're related to, but not. They don't know, or like they very distantly know that they're related. Something like that, because I just hate that notion of like, I think that what happens with shows that we like sometimes is that because we like a character, we want them to come back. And it's like, oh, I want Prue back and Prue should have come back and this and that. And it's like, sometimes no. Sometimes I think that the biggest lesson for the Charmed ones was that death happens. You can't get around it. You can't bring somebody back. Because when we do see people bring people back from the dead, it's literally through evil magic. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally, it's done through evil means. We don't just see good magic bringing people back to life like that on a permanent basis. And even when they do come back, like Graham's coming back because of Wyatt's powers, right? In season 5, she says, this isn't my time anymore. It's time for me to go back. She has an understanding that her time there is done. She's not alive anymore. She's not. If she goes to try to cash a check, then it's gonna be, fraud, essentially, because her social security number is associated with a dead woman. So she can't just come back and step back in. That's not how life works. And that's what I think, that's why I have such a deep reaction to like the notion of like bringing Prue back, is because it just feels like she deserves a happy ending of her own. And her happy ending should be being in heaven. She shouldn't be, a reward for her sisters doing something well. She shouldn't be something coming back, that her coming back to life should not be something for her sisters, because that's the problem. Like she every time, like, I've heard someone say like, oh, well, Prue should come back, it's always because the sisters want to see her. It's because the sisters want to connect with her. It's because X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? That's my issue. It doesn't feel like she ever gets the end of her own stories. It always feels like a resurrection for her is connected to her sisters. And at a certain point, goddamn, she didn't get a chance. She didn't get a chance to live her own life in life. And now we don't even want the woman to live her own life in death. Like, at a certain point, let's just split it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just let it go. Like, at a certain point, it's okay for her to have finality. It is okay. It is perfectly fine for her to have finality to her story. Andy was burning in hell, so unfortunately they weren't together. But absolutely, Prue's time was done. She died a warrior's death. Okay, our girl had put the work in. She saved innocence. She did all that she needed to do. Okay. See, and then I'm gonna hush. I'm gonna be quiet. Yeah, Andy is burning. Andy's burning. I hate when people say she was getting all the screen time, because that's not true. But I'm gonna be quiet. I'm gonna hush. I'm not gonna go there today. I just hate that that's why. Oh yeah, Andy is burning, baby. Oh, Andy is burning, honey. Oh, Andy is burning. Oh, baby, Andy's burning. I wanted Prue to come back as a white lighter. Oh no, 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 no. I did not want Prudence to come back as a servant. Okay, because my baby. No, the notion of a white lighter is cute until you think about the fact that these are people who died and doing these really great things to help people, and they're now obligated to help people for eternity. No, I don't want that for my Prudence. No, ma'am. She already did enough. That's what I mean. Like, I want her story to be done. Prudence's story needs to be done. It just needs to, she needs to have peace in the afterlife. I can't. The notion of her coming back and having to still serve people and help people and then being hit with dark light arrow. Girl, no. I mean, although I do think that would be a good exploration into witches becoming white lighters. Can witches become white lighters? You know, that would have been a good explanation. It absolutely would have been a very good thing to, I think, explore. That was Paige's role with being half white lighter. And the thing is, like, with her being born as a white lighter, hers was a little different. So they just put my girl to work. They said, you're finna be a witch, you're finna be a white lighter, you finna do both of them. Okay? You finna do both of them. Because girl, if you can orb, and now we done found out you can heal, I'm sorry, but you got charges now, babe. We're short-staffed, and you need to go ahead and put in the work. But even with that, I just kind of assume that she's going, you know, when she dies, I just assume she's going to go to heaven. But then again, I think that goes back to, like, what is the process of becoming a white lighter? Like, what does that look like? Do you get to choose? Do you get to say, no, I don't want to be a white lighter? Or do they just say, no, you're going to be one because you were a good person? I don't know. Because I would assume that if you become a white lighter, if you're made into a white lighter, then you would no longer be a witch. I mean, what would be the point? What would be the point? Like, if a witch dies and is made into a white lighter, what would be the point of making them both? Hello, Diamond. And is there any training at all? Girl, you know it ain't. They just put them out there. They say, you'll figure it out. You know, they just told them, you got this. Trust your instincts, okay? That's how we get people like Leo. That's how we get people like Leo. So, oh God, I'm tickled. I'm so tickled. I'm so tickled. Here, eat some toast. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But but no, yeah, that's why I'm just not a big fan of Prue like coming back to life. I'm just not a big fan of it. But I mean, it would have been nice to see her in like a ghost form, but I don't want her doing anything when she gets there. I don't want her doing anything when she gets there. I want my baby to be standing there looking pretty, okay? Or if she does do something, kind of have her yearn for it, and then she tells them, this is why I didn't come back. Ooh. And you might be like, what you mean? She could tell Piper and Phoebe, you know, this is why I didn't come back. And then they're looking at her like, what the hell you mean you didn't come back? And she'd be like, every time y'all would call, I wanted to come. Okay. But I knew I was going to get caught up. And then after their adventure, that episode, she would say, this is why I have to stay away. Because I want to be a part of this. But I know that it's not my time anymore. Ooh. Then that would also have Piper and Phoebe have to, especially Piper, that have to accept the fact that her time is over. Right? And not her time as in like her time as a charm, but her life. Like, it's done. She has to accept it. They have to accept it. And then they move on. Whereas like you get someone like Grams, who I think is in a place where because she had had magic her entire life and she understood the rules and she understood how it worked and she understood everything that comes along with it, she fully understood this is not my time. And yes, I can vanquish the demons. Yes, I can come in. But you know, she would love it when she would be there. And then she would be like, all right, I gotta go. I gotta go. You know, where you get someone like Prue who had only been a witch for 3 years. You know, this huge part of her had been kept from her. And then she finally gets a chance to partake in it. And then she loses her life. So it's like that yearning to do what you were born to do would get to her, but I wouldn't let it overtake her. And Prue would be smart enough to realize, and I think emotionally aware enough to realize, I need to stay away from this because it's too much temptation. You know? And then I almost wonder if like they could use that as a way for her. I don't want them to do this. I'm just throwing this out here like in a roundabout sort of way because I do not like tying things to people. But, you know, Prue had already kind of gotten to where she told Phoebe, like, I understand why you took a romp on the dark side, you know, like a harlot. But maybe she could tell her, now I finally understand Cole. Like, I understood you before, but now I understand Cole. And this could be after the Cole saga, right? And Phoebe could be like, what the hell are you talking about? And she's like, I finally understand what it's like to have that power calling to you, to want to do something and have access to something that's greater than you. I know what that feeling is like now, so I get it. And then Phoebe could kind of be like, because mind you, this is after the Cole saga, but I think that would also go to show just how disconnected Prue really is from everything that's happened in their life, because she's still talking about Cole. And Cole been gone for like a year or two at this point. Are we talking about Billie and Christy? We're not anymore. So I did a rewrite of Billie and Christy here on the live. I think I'm gonna change it though, because we are definitely talking about different things now, because we have definitely finished this discussion, and so now we're just kind of chilling, talking about this television program. There was a screenshot I wanted to use, but I don't know where it's at. Oh my God. Where is it? Hold on, y'all. Cat Slater. Let's see. Hold on, me darlings. Hold on, me darlings. I'm trying to find a picture. But I don't think I'm going to find it. And I don't want to keep y'all waiting while I do. If I can't find it. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Give me a second. Oh, well, I guess I gotta... Oh. Let's see if this one works. Oh, yeah, it did. Okay. Woo. Woo. Okay, purr. Purr. This is the one I was looking for. This is the one. Hello, Tyrante. This is the one I was looking for. Oh. Look at Phoebe Braxton. Look at Phoebe Braxton. I just live. I just live. She said, he wasn't demon enough for me. Oh, God. I am screeching. I am screeching and I am scrooching. I am screaming and I am scrooching. Oh, Phoebe. Oh, Fat Rabbit Phoebe. Look at Fat Rabbit Phoebe. And if you don't know what that means, you don't need to know. That's not for you. It's not for you. Fat Rabbit Phoebe Braxton. He wasn't demon enough for me. Oh, we cutting up. And by we, I mean y'all, because it couldn't be me. It could never be me. How's the friend who liked Buffy? What friend? Who? Because I got a lot of friends, y'all. It's Paige Tamar. I have never seen Tamar spelled like that a day in my life. Hello, Tornell. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. He was a but anyway, so yeah. So that's my little doing. We kind of got off on a tangent about the evil universe, and then we were talking about Prue coming back, and I do not need my baby coming back. I think that my baby definitely needed to be in the afterlife. My big thing with that is just, I don't know. I'm kind of in this weird phase of life, right? Where, and I think maybe it's affecting the way that I watch TV. Because I fully realize, like, I'm never going to get the feeling from stuff again the same way. And I think sometimes wanting, I have to sift through. Now, this is just for me. This is not for y'all. I'm not putting words in y'all's mouth, okay? I think sometimes I have to sift through, like, do I want something to happen because I want it to happen narratively? Or do I want something to happen because I am a fan of that thing? And this is just for me because I create stuff and because I write stuff and because, you know, whatever else. If you have no other reason for wanting something to happen other than you want it to happen, and girl, I am not telling you not to feel what you feel. I am talking about Galen, okay? I'm talking about Big G, and the G stand for grands, okay? Me. Big G and the G stand for Power of G. You can head on over and get your merch at shop.powerofgcommunity.com. Ooh, 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 ooh. Sometimes, though, I think that when you want... I do think that both can be valid as well. I definitely do. I do think that sometimes, for me, when I think about certain things, I'm like, oh, I just want that to happen because I wanted it to happen. Because I wanted to see it. But then you think about, like, the narrative implications. So, like, Prue coming back... For me, narratively, I think it just, it's not a year in the life. I know we're not talking about Gilmore Girls, But I do kind of think that A Year in the Life is a good example of like, sometimes it's okay to just not do something. Because I loved seeing like my characters, right? Love seeing my people. But I do think that that is a good example of what happens when you don't quite know which direction to take the characters in. And so you're trying to do fan service. So Lorelai being almost 50 and still not wanting to marry Luke. Girl, be serious. Girl, be for real. Rory, a mess. Okay? Love Emily down. I think Emily's was probably about the best story in that whole saga. And it just kind of felt like everyone else was like a fan fiction version of what we thought their lives would be. Paris and what's his name? Jess. Ooh. So Jess just still sitting there working with Rory. Okay. These are sugar-free gummies, by the way. So before somebody tries to come at me and call me fat, I know I'm fat. That's why I'm eating sugar-free gummies. What did that lady who be practicing her reads in the mirror say? Now check that. He wasn't burning for me. But that's kind of what I think the issue with a Charmed reboot would be. If they were to do like a continuation or something like that. People would want that continuation to pick up in 2006. And it's not gonna. It's just not gonna. I'm sorry. That would be the problem. Because even if it was based on Wyatt and Chris, even if, and let's say the sisters didn't come back, the only thing people would say, hello, Meandra. But the only thing people would say is like, where are the Charmed ones? Exactly, Tyrante. It would be, fetch is not going to happen. Okay? It don't matter how much ESPN you got. It don't matter if you know it's going to rain. It ain't going to happen. But I think the thing would be, you know, where are the Charmed ones? The Charmed ones need to be in it. Or, oh, why aren't the Charmed ones in it more? Because it's not about them. And I think that that's the problem we would run into if we tried to have a continuation. People, if it was about the kids, people would not want it to be about the kids. They'd want it to be about the sisters. And it's just not. Bye, Jade. Boy. And I think that that's one of the big issues when we talk about, and y'all have to remember too, and I apologize. I know sometimes I can get a little snappy, okay? But y'all have to remember, I have heard the same phrases be spoken over and over and over and over and over again. I have heard, it should be about the kids. We need it about the kids. Oh, we need this, we need that. You know, oh, it should do. I've heard those same phrases, and sometimes I'm not even going to sit here in front with y'all. Every now and again, I get a little, I don't know what it is about it, but it just upsets me just a tap. It just upsets me a tap. And I'll hear it and I'm like, girl, okay, we get it. Y'all want the kids, you know. But it's, I think it's just me feeling, okay? This is truly, truly me emphasizing my own feelings, okay? It has nothing to do with anybody, so I apologize if I've offended you. I apologize if I come at you. I just think that the Charmed community does not want a reboot. They want the show to pick up in 2006, and we want to watch the show from 2006. And it's just not possible, you know? And it's like, would they even do it like that? To what? Because I think people would be perfectly fine if Piper was just in the show and they could just watch a show about Piper. And it's, to me, I think that I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. I just feel like that defeats the purpose of the show. Like a show about sisters, and everyone just wants to see that one character because she's mother. She's oh my god, that's mother. She eats this Piper, and it's like, if you don't just watch that goddamn show. I just find myself sometimes just being like, girl, just watch the show. You know what I mean? Like, just watch the show. My God. I remember one time, and I think I screenshot it, but I don't think I did. I can't remember. I literally saw someone say that they hated The Power of Two because Piper was not in it. The season 1 episode, The Power of Two. They said they did not like it because Piper wasn't in it that much. And I just thought that was the strangest way to approach an episode of this show. You know what I mean? I just felt like that was the strangest way to watch this show about sisters, was to say that you don't like this episode because one of them I just thought that was so weird. And I mean, of course, people can have opinions. Like, people can like things for different reasons. I just think that for this show, I never watched Fuller House. I didn't watch that. But, you know, I love me some Kimmy Gibbler. I love me some Jodie Sweetin. The one that plays, oh God, what is that girl? What is the character's name? Oh my God, I see her face just as clear as a bell. Stephanie, that's it, Stephanie. How rude. Now, that was my girl. Now, Candace Cameron Puree. Candace Cameron Raspberry Puree. Her and PJ can go on. Okay, don't want to see them. They're okay. I'm fine if they're not there. I'm fine with that. DJ wasn't a horrible character. I didn't care for DJ, but I don't think she was a horrible character. But that lady that plays her, no ma'am. But yeah, with Charm though, I think it will be so hard to pin a continuation, but because people don't want a continuation, they want to see the original show. And I think that's why it would just be so difficult. I really do. I think that's why it would be so hard to really have really have a continuation. You kind of can't. So I don't know. I think a really good premise for them, if they were to do something like this, and I don't think I would make it a show if I'm being 100% honest. I would make it a series of books. I would have a series of books about the previous Warren witches. Boom. Boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Have a continuation with, not a continuation, but a spinoff of the previous Warren witches. You could give us something about Melinda. You could give us something about that one-legged lady. You could give us something about Grams, Patty. You could flesh Patty out more. Now, I would make them books, but that doesn't mean they have to be. If I had to make it a show, I'm going to tell you right now, TNT dropped the ball. TNT should be the one that should be up there making some kind of continuation television program or something. I don't even like it. I wouldn't even want a continuation. But TNT needs to be the one doing something because Yana got a whole generation hooked on Charmed. Do something. You are missing out. Hi, Ask a Black Psychologist. Y'all, I feel so bad because Ask a Black Psychologist be sending me stuff. And then I'll look at it and then completely forget to reply. So, baby, I hope you don't. That's me publicly saying I apologize. I'm so fake. I be publicly apologizing because I forget to reply. Oh God. This is why people be blocking me. But anyway. But no. For real. TNT, I think, really missed an opportunity. And they need to be getting on this. Like I said, I would do a series of books or shorts or something. I would, you know what, really and truly, and I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. If TNT or something or someone made a YouTube and they made a series of shorts, or not shorts, but a series of videos based on the previous Warren Witches, I think those videos would eat. I do. But I think it needs to be something like this because I know I'll probably be sounding crazy as hell, and y'all probably be thinking, Galen, please stop. And I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm so sorry. I try not to be like, I'm not trying to be one of those people that's like, I'm different. I think I maybe sometimes think a little bit too much. Look at all the people. I think that sometimes I kind of maybe overcompensate trying to be realistic because I know that it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, not in the way that people want it to happen. And so I really try to think of something that could actually occur. That's the whole point. I had to do the Drusilla voice. I'm sorry. I saw someone say, look at all the people, and I had to. I'm sorry. Look at all the people. Sorry. Does they like Daisy? Sorry. Anyway, but I try to think of things. That's why I save like the rewrites and stuff, right? Is because I like to give myself an opportunity and a space. That's why I like doing those specific rewrites. I like to give myself the opportunity and the space to just do it, you know, to just kind of come up with stuff. Because I think a big issue with like the Charmed universe is, and kind of the fandom is like, we want like the big shit to happen, right? So we don't just want like, oh, I want a show to learn more about like what happened to the sisters, and then we can like Tyrante was saying earlier, you know, we do the nostalgia stuff and then we move on into the story. People want like, yeah, no, we need to get Phoebe's baby actually being alive and becoming the source, or yeah, Wyatt needs to be full on evil, and it's things that are so far-fetched. Not far-fetched, but just like at a certain point, it's just like, girl, okay, we get it. Y'all do not understand how many times I have heard people talk about that baby, about Phoebe's baby coming back, and Phoebe's baby needs to be this, and Phoebe's baby needs to be that. Phoebe's baby is Phoebe's baby is not with us. Okay. And so for me, sometimes I want us to let that notion go because it's over. The fat lady done sing. Okay. The fat lady done sung her song, and I'm the fat lady in this scenario. I'm singing. I may not be a woman. Girl, I don't even know what I am. I'm just singing, okay? I'm fat and I'm singing. And it needs to be over. Girl, is over. Let it go. I'm screaming. I hate when I can't get my words together, but it'd be so funny. What are you? The end. The reboot wasn't my favorite, but I did watch every episode. It wasn't too bad. It was okay. Yeah, it was good. Hello, Corwin. Hello, my darling. Hello, my darling. I love when people come in and they talk about like my voice, or they'll be like, are you a man or a woman? I'm whatever I feel like being today. How about that? How you like them apples or oranges or whatever I'm serving you that day? How you like that? Oh yeah, we love Fat Rabbit Phoebe Braxton. We love some Fat Rabbit Phoebe Braxton. Absolutely do. Absolutely do. We love us some Fat Rabbit Phoebe Braxton. And if you don't know what the beginning part of that is, then you don't need to go look it up. Mia, do not go look that up. Okay? I think we've been down that road before. You don't need to know what that means. Okay, you don't need to know what fat rabbit means. Well, because Phoebe was on that magical deal from Jason. Phoebe had that because it sounds mad familiar. Does it? It sounds familiar to you? Oh. Just coming in to say you're crazy good look. Oh, wow. Girl, you better tell me them beautiful lies. You better. I stand. I absolutely stand. You better tell me them beautiful lies. Thank you. That made my day. That made my day. Child, I feel good about myself now. I'm gonna go smile. I'm gonna smile. I promised Laurel I wouldn't cry. But anyway, but no, but yeah, that's just kind of my stance with like a Charmed reboot. Is like, it's not that it couldn't happen. I'm not saying that it just is impossible. I am just saying that I think that people need to have realistic expectations versus just wanting it to be what they want it to be. Like, instead of watching it to be like, oh, I want to see Piper fighting demons. Like, they're kind of probably out of that, phase of demon fighting. Let's just be honest. Like, our girls are probably out of the demon fighting phase. Especially Piper. Baby, I feel like Piper especially has hung her little pointy hat up. Okay? She is not doing that at all. And so it's I don't know. I don't know. I think it's also that, it's that notion sometimes that, like, we don't want things to be done. We don't want things to have a finish to them anymore. And it's not us as a community, as the Charmed community. It's us as a society. Like, we don't want things to be done anymore. Stories can't be complete. There is no complete. There's always more story to tell, and we're mining it, and we're this and we're that. I know I talked during one live about the fact that, like, everything is a money-making machine now. And if I see that you're making waves talking about this, then okay, let's bring it back. And then it don't matter if I give you something good or if I don't, because as long as you're getting it, that means you're gonna give me money. So it's gonna be on Paramount Plus, and it's gonna be $8.99 a month for you to watch it. And for just that, you can, and it's like, there's a difference in something that someone is like a passion project, because if it's a passion project, like, of course you're going to have to get something to help you to make it and whatever else and But for somebody like CBS, they're just doing it, girl, because they would just do it just because, like, oh, y'all like this? Okay, here. Anyway. What I want, they wouldn't commit the budget to create. Exactly. They would have a baby budget. They would come in there with 8 episodes, and then it would get canceled after 1 season because not enough people watched it. Or if people did watch it, they just went online before the first episode to talk about how amazing it is that this show is back. Oh my God, this show is back. I can't believe it. From Germany. Okay, come on, Germany. I'm gonna follow you. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Oh my God, I can't believe it's back. And then after like the first or second episode, this is not anything like what I thought it was going to be. This is not this is not that. And then you're going to spend the whole 8 episodes talking about how horrible it is. And then when they cancel it, I can't believe they canceled it. Y'all didn't watch it enough. And that's always what happens. Y'all didn't watch it. Y'all didn't give it a chance. Y'all didn't X, Y, and Z. And it's like, it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting. It's just, I know I brought up a House of the Dragon reference one time. House of the Dragon, I stopped watching it just because I just kind of got disconnected from it as a person. It had nothing to do with like the story itself. It was just me as a person not wanting to go back, because I get kind of like, I do have Charmed on Blu-ray actually. I just kind of got like a little overwhelmed with the story because I just did. But for me, exhausting about the House of the Dragon show are the book readers coming in to say, oh, it's so bad. It's not a real adaptation. It's this. They take too many liberties. It shouldn't be that different. It shouldn't da-da-da-da. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay. And I feel like that's what would happen with Charmed. If they were to come back with a good reboot, I feel like the first thing they would probably do is talk about how, oh, it's not even like the original show. It's so different. Oh my God, Piper's not even acting like herself. Oh my God, why are the kids always at the forefront? Because that's the thing I would be very interested to see. Because everyone talks about wanting to see the kids, but I genuinely feel like as soon as a show came out that centered them, the first thing people would say is that the kids shouldn't be there that much. I feel like that is the first thing they would say, the first thing that would come out their mouth. The kids are there too much. We don't get enough of the sisters. I feel like that's exactly what would happen. If you love the book so much, stick to it. Hey, Boris, by the way. Exactly. Like, if you want to read the books, go read the books. You don't have to read the show. You don't have to go watch the show and read the books. You can literally just say, I'm going to read Fire and Blood and let that be it. You don't have to watch House of the Dragon and watch that if you don't want to. Turn this on. Turn this on. I will say I am so there was a question I was going to answer earlier. Mia said, oh, Bayou Brit said after Game of Thrones, I'm over that universe. Oh. Mia said, I saw someone say they only watch series once they're finished. No wonder. Yeah. Oh, God. So what's the point? But you know what? I think that's the streaming era. And I think a lot of people want to binge watch shows instead of just watching them. And it's like, girl, if we got 10 people watching the show live and then 2 million people waiting until the whole show comes out to watch it, those 10 people gonna hold a little bit more weight than those 2 million. I'm sorry. They're just, this isn't Family Guy back in the 90s, okay? It's, I don't know. Because their toy sales and all of that, they brought that back because of that. It's definitely a take from the streaming era. Shows aren't usually designed with the finish in mind. They're not. They're absolutely not. They are designed for you to binge them, but you need to binge them right then. Because you need to binge them as they're... That's why I think they release them all at once sometimes. It's like, we don't want people to wait. You should just binge it. And I think that's why sometimes things get missed so much, is because people are sitting there in one night watching shows. Where it used to be back in the cut, unless you had like TiVo or something, or you were recording them on a VHS. Girl, like when I used to watch Charmed on the WB's Big Sunday, because I watched it when it came on Thursdays, but... when I used to watch Charmed as a youngster, I was literally having to remember from one week to the other what happened. And if you didn't remember what happened, it was just on you. Like, I'm sorry, but you just... It's like I'm reading, so right now we've been over on the Discord. Oh my God. I need to keep on, I need to actually like plug this, but over on the Discord, we have a Discord. We have anime nights on Thursday. So we've been watching anime, and one of them that we've been watching is A Sign of Affection. Now, I never realized how much of a romance anime person I was going to be, because ever since we started watching Sign of Affection, I had to go pick it up. And girl, I have been obsessed. With it. Because Itsuyomi, I just want him to hold me in his arms. But that's how TV is supposed to make you feel. That's what media is supposed to. You like it? Percy, you got text. But yeah, over on the Discord, we do that every Thursday. You can head on in. We've been watching that. Princess Jellyfish. And some other Dan. We've been watching a lot of stuff that off the top of my head I can't remember right now, but we've been watching a lot of stuff. And my point here is like, watching those episodes week to week has been so, it made me want to go read that. It made me want to go pick that up to see, let me see what the story looks like illustrated, you know. And it's like, so I don't know. I just feel like they would probably, if they did a Charmed reboot, they probably give us 8 episodes at once, or it would be 8 episodes. That's the other thing, is like, things are 8 episodes. Like back in the day, we had filler episodes of Charmed because it was a 22 episode long season. So yeah, you got It's a Bad Bad World Part 1 and 2, but you also got the Power 3 Blondes in one season because they had to fill that gap in. Now everything is just 8 seasons, and they're trying to make everything fit into 8 episodes. And they're trying to make entire stories run the course of 8 episodes. And we don't have time for fun anymore. Or if we do, people will be like, that was such a stupid episode. And it's like, well, yeah, you got to kind of have a bad episode or an episode where not that much happens. Like, it's okay. So are you telling me that drama just happens in your life every single day? I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Johnny Wolfie. Filler episode. Yeah, I love a good filler episode. Simply Laren said those filler episodes were the best. They were fun. They gave us a chance to just cackle and kiki. Not everything has to be jam-packed to the gills with story. And I think that's what would be missing from if they did a Charmed continuation. I think that's what would be missing. They tried to give us 8 episodes. Charmed is not an 8 episode show. And then you get something like the reboot where they had a 22 or 20 plus episode season, but the problem is they were trying to jam pack so much into those episodes that even the episodes that didn't necessarily mean anything meant something, which is not a good approach, because you have to be able to back up sometimes. You have to. You can't give us 3 separate seasons worth of information and story in one season. And I don't know. So I just think that we don't need a Charmed continuation. I'm sorry. I don't think we need one. If we do get something, it should be in book form. It should be like YouTube videos. It should just be something like that. Maybe not short form necessarily, but I don't think it needs to be on network television. I'll be 100% honest, because I just don't think they would know how to handle it. It doesn't need to be on Netflix, okay? It does not need to be on Netflix, because I do not need to see a 20-year-old Christopher Perry. I don't need to see his booty flapping in the wind while he's up there, you know, engaging in coitus. Okay, I don't need to see that. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't think that would add anything to the Charmed universe. I just don't. I don't need to hear them cussing. I don't need to hear them, you know, whatever. Like, I just want, if you're going to do something with the story, just make it that story. Just make it that story. And not try to add in this is what we do in the modern age. People have sex. And sometimes maybe Wyatt is on a little, you know, maybe he's, you know, I don't need to see that. I just don't, because I think people think that that's gripping. People think that that's story. People think, you know, they try to add that little razzle dazzle in to make it more gritty. And not everything needs to be goddamn gritty. Not everything needs to be gritty. My God today. So that's just my little take. Okay. I'm just a fat man. Okay. Sitting on the internet on in his bedroom. Okay. So please take what I say with a grain of salt. Please. I'm begging you. Take what I say with a grain of salt. I am not the authority. Or maybe I am. Who knows? Speaking of people monetizing things, you should check out our Patreon. We're actually going to be starting up our rewatch of season 5 of Charmed this Saturday. And then this Sunday, we're going to be watching Once Upon a Time. So every Saturday we get together and we watch Charmed. Every Sunday we're going to start getting together and watch Once Upon a Time. And we watch them together via Zoom. We make, we have our commentary in the chat. We also stop and take a little periodic breaks where we, discuss what we're watching in the show so far. And I think that it's going to be so fun. We've watched 4 seasons of Charmed like that. And I think it has been great. I think that it has been really, really good. I have not watched an episode of Charmed since the season 4 rewatch ended. And I think that has helped me to kind of like feel excited about him. You forgot to get up in the Patreon. Girl, if you don't want to, listen, I tell people all the time, if you can afford to, and you want to create or help, support a creator like me, please feel free to. However, I know that the economy is economying right now. And so I don't expect anyone to do anything. It is purely an optional thing. And it has helped me to facilitate so much, like I feel like so many creative ideas. It helps me to keep Canva up and going. It's helped me to buy things for the channel, different plugins. Like it's helped me in so many different ways be able to do stuff that I couldn't do necessarily by myself. So it's like it even, that's how I keep that Zoom up and going, child. That's how I keep that Zoom up and going. That's how we were able to see Brian. That's how we were able to, well, we had Google Meet at the time, but the Google Meet was how we were able to talk to Michael Bailey Smith. We have had those opportunities to talk to people from the show, and hopefully we're going to have more. I do hope and pray that we're going to have more. And I just am very, very thankful for the community that we've created over there. Like I said, you get bonus content. I've been doing good. I've been eating with the bonus content. You can ask them. I have been doing really, really good with the bonus content. Like, I feel like they've gotten something. You get something every week. Like, okay. Well, so you get something every 2 weeks, but I am saying, like, between the YouTube videos and between the bonus content on Patreon, you get something every week. Early access to videos. I feel like I've been doing really, really good on it. So, and well, you do kind of get something every week because I do a gratitude journal every Tuesday. Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's not. It just depends. But yeah, so big things coming at the Power of G. Big things coming at the Power of G. So yeah. Yeah. Or you can go to my YouTube channel. They call me Mr. G. You can head on over there. Support for free. It's up to you. Both, neither. It's up to you. But y'all, I think I'm going to go ahead and let everyone have an amazing, hello, Jonathan. Let everyone have an amazing rest of your Sunday. Thank you to everyone. If this is your first time, it was so nice to meet you. And so I'm so glad you're here. Hopefully you come back. I go live every Saturday typically, but last night I just didn't have it in me. So that's why we're live today. But typically we go live every Saturday. So just hit the follow button. I'll follow you back. I will follow you back, okay? Just, stick with me. And I'm gonna have a great day. Let's take our selfie. Y'all better smile. I'm finna take a screenshot and y'all better smile because y'all got it up to 20K likes. So that means you better smile, and I mean you better smile like you mean it. Trinell. 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 Mark actually. Okay. All right. Oh. Okay. All right. Boy.